Hey there, and welcome back to Get Going Fast. Here you have made it. Congratulations, we're here. Let's learn something together, because I'm here for you, all right? I want to help you get into this AI hobby in a way that's not only quick, but in a way that you learn something that's a little bit more understandable, isn't it? So we're going to look at today something that is called YuE music generation, okay? So this is actually really cool. It has the ability to make music that's pretty close to Suno type levels. Now, it's not going to be as perfect as Suno, but you'll get about a minute of pretty good stuff. So let me play you a little bit of some stuff going on here. Here's kind of the default song that they got on there. So this is inspiring female vocal. I'm here to never heart I didn't break. So that's actually pretty good. So now here's some other ones. I put the exact same words, tried to put it to change it to some country, western type stuff. Can't deny it now. All right, so every road you take, I've been one step in. So there you go. It's kind of the same sort of stuff. Let's try another one here. Let you down. I made mistakes, but that sounds like that. I'm going under. Kind of thing, right? So this is all open source. Every road you take, I'll be one step behind. All right, so we're going to play around with that, and we're going to install this. Now, I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, this is not an easy install because it's going to require Windows Subsystem for Linux. So we're going to pop on into that, how to do that, get you going. And I'll tell you a bit more about this app because, again, this app delivers a lot, but she takes a lot from you as well. So we'll get into that here in a minute. But before we do that, I just want to thank you so much for liking the channel, subscribing, hitting that video, hitting the notification button. So when you're laying in bed there with your woman at night and you're just about to go to sleep and that bell rings, you pop out of bed and you go, honey, I got to get going fast. I'll be back. Keep the bed warm. So thank you for doing that. I certainly do appreciate you being part of what's going on here. So we are going to move on here, and this is a good project. I think it's going to keep you busy for the weekend, which is always my goal. If I can keep you in doing something interesting for the weekend, then I feel like my job has been done. And this is great. This is going to really show us where we're going. But I'm going to talk more about that here in just a minute. So let's yo on to the video here, yo. Okay, so to start this off, we're going to, as usual, jump on over to the browser here, and we're going to be looking for this repository here on GitHub. So to find this, what we're going to do is we're just going to type the word YuE, as in Y-U-E. I believe that's a Chinese word, something about happiness. We'll look it up here in a second. But it's going to pop up here, and we want to grab this one here that says multimodal art projection. So click on that, and she's going to bring us up to this, okay? This is what we're going to be needing, so we're not going to worry about the repo at the moment. So you're going to come down here, you're going to see there's a few different models here. So they've got a 7 billion parameter model, and then you're going to have a 1 billion parameter model. So when you're playing with this, if it's taken too long using the one, try dropping to the other, and of course that will make it run so much faster. But as usual, the smaller the model, the less quality you're going to get, even though it runs faster. So that's always the trade-off, right? Like, you can run something a little bit faster with a little bit less quality, or maybe a lot less quality for a lot faster, So with this one, you're jumping between 7 billion, 1 billion parameters. That's quite a difference. But whatever. You figure that one out. Now, here it says, YuE is a Chinese word, means music and happiness. So there you go. We're looking for music and happiness. Now it says please visit the demo page, but I'm going to tell you the demo page ain't there. So you're going to click on over here, and it's just going to bring you over to their abstract page. So you can look at this, see some of the examples of what they're doing. Okay, not my type of music, but I got to recognize that that's good. So that's all good stuff.
When you're in my arms, nothing else can matter.
And you can see the lyrics they put in here. Now, the way they put these lyrics are going to come back important for us later. You're going to notice that they've got brackets. You're not going to be able to make a 2.5 minute song. You're going to probably be able to make about a 1 minute song, which is a little bit disappointing because, you only get half a song. So I think what probably is going to be best for, if you're going to use it on a production level, which you could certainly do this on a production level, I think the best thing is probably going to be making short jingles or, little things for your commercials, stuff like that. Open source. It's free. You make it. You don't got to subscribe to Suno to do it. And you're going to see you can make some groovy stuff with some caveats. There's a few things here I'll point out as we go on. But unless you've got a ton of VRAM, you ain't going to be making... You ain't going to be making a 5-minute song, I'll tell you that. So it typically takes me about 10 minutes or so to make a 60-second song, sometimes longer, okay? But it comes out with some great stuff. If nothing else, maybe as a musician, you use this to get some ideas, and then you go out there with your own guitar and recreate it, which I think is a beautiful way to use AI music, is just kind of help yourself get ideas. You're bouncing your thoughts off, and then you go out there and flesh it out. So anyway, this is where the demo page is going to take you to. So you're not actually going to be able to produce anything on here, but you're going to get to see lots of examples. So hit that up. Check it out. If you do scroll back to the top and you see these things where it says English, all it's going to do is just take you back to here where we were before. Okay, so that being said, oh yeah, it's actually just, look at that, it just looped you right back to itself. So let's scoot back over to our instructions. Where's that at? Oh, it's over here. Okay, now, like I said, this isn't that difficult. Or not difficult, this isn't that intricate of an installation, but it requires Windows Subsystem for Linux for us Windows people, okay? No way really around it. I have beat myself against the wall on this, trying to get this to work on Windows. I've had some success, but nothing in a consistent manner that I felt anywhere near good releasing to you guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the way this teaches us, and everything's going to be command prompt. Okay, now I did go ahead and I made a little app over here that takes the command prompt stuff and it makes a Gradio app that's going to look something like this. Okay, so I did go ahead and create this, which you can get as a member over on the Patreon page. That's available for all members, along with the installer. So if you already got your WSL up and running, you can just use the installer. If you need help getting the WSL, I also have a WSL install script here that will actually set up your CUDA and your CUDA deep neural network and your Minicon and your Git and all that good stuff for you. So there is help doing this, but I'm telling you, this is not an easy install. Okay, but it's doable. So the vast majority of what you're going to be doing probably is troubleshooting your Windows Subsystem for Linux. At the best, it's like snap, it works, okay? At the worst, you're sitting there going, why won't it work? Okay, I've been on both sides of the spectrum where I'm just like, man, that works so easy. And then afterwards, I've been on the other side where it's just like, I just want to shoot myself. It's just like, holy hell, what is going on with this thing? And why won't it work? So, you can hit me up, ask me questions about that, but, I'm going to probably take a lot of hands off of getting your Windows Subsystem for Linux set up. But I can help you after you get that done. And like I said, over here, if you do want help, I've got a install script here, because you're going to have to get your CUDA and all of that installed before you do your thing. Okay, so now assuming we have our Windows subsystem for Linux set up, we're going to scroll down here and we're going to look at the directions. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and look at the instructions. Now, I do want to point out that they've got this, they do have some GUIs up here they put together. However, these are Docker things. So if you're into Docker, you can do it. I don't use Docker, and so I have no support for you there. We may look at this one here, this GP one, that actually is supposed to work with lower VRAM. I have had not great success with it, but we'll take a look at it installing it. But let's get the definite way going first, which is this one. And so let's just take a look at what they got going. So they're going to have us, we're going to be using mini conda. They're going to have us be creating a environment called YuE, and then they've got us using Python 3.8. Now, I want to tell you, this is one of the things, sometimes people ask me, say, well, what's the difference between using a Python virtual environment and using a mini conda virtual environment? Well, this is one of the differences here. Let's say that you want to have a very particular version of Python. So you might have Python 3.11 installed on your machine, but you need to use Python 3.8. At that point, you would use mini conda because you can actually install a different level of Python in there. When you're using a Python virtual environment, it's linked to whatever Python version you have on your machine. So that's kind of one big difference there. If it doesn't really matter which Python you're using, I like to use a Python VNV. If it's saying you have to have this one, use conda. So this one is saying that we need to be using 3.8, although if you look over here, this little hashtag here just means it's a comment. And the comment is that it just needs to be greater than or equal to 3.8. So, you know, you could use your 3.1011. We'll just go ahead with what it's got. It's going to have us activate it. Okay, it's going to have us installing Torch Vision, Torch Audio, and the CUDA toolkit. Okay, so so we'll be installing all of this. And then it's going to be having we'll just go through it. So you'll see it just has us installing requirements, and then it's actually pulling the requirement files down from someplace else here. Okay, you're going to see here it has us installing the CUDA toolkit 11.8. So that's kind of nice. When we're running this in Linux, it's going to be fine that our CUDA is 11.8 or 12.4. If you try running this on Windows, okay, let me tell you, the reason this is because down here we're going to get into installing what's called Flash Attention. Okay, Flash Attention installs real easy on Linux, but when you get to Windows, oh my goodness, okay, it is no bueno. So with that, it's possible to get installed, but you have to do it with CUDA 12. Okay, it's just a real pain. It doesn't work well in Windows, but over here in WSL land, you're going to be fine however you install it. Now, the install script over here, this installs a CUDA 12.4. So if you're using that, it's fine, and you can still go ahead and use the CUDA toolkit 11.8. The difference being the CUDA is your kind of your drivers, and the CUDA toolkit is what uses those drivers. Okay, so even if you got the 12, you can still use the 11.8. But you can't set the 11.8 drivers and use the CUDA toolkit 12, if that makes sense, okay? So the big thing is your CUDA drivers, and then the CUDA toolkit's kind of like the road. She comes on in like this. So you can go up. If you got 12 up here, you can do 11 going up to it, right? But if you got 11 up here, you can't do 12, okay? So simple pimple. All right, let's look through here, and you're going to just see it has us doing some basic stuff. We're going to download some pretty big files. It's about 8 gigabytes total, but then she's going to run. And to run this, we're going to end up copying this. So what we're going to end up doing is doing this on the command line. There is no GUI for this. Like I said, we'll look at another GUI, see if it works. I've had real iffy experience with it. So I'm going to show you, this is the way that definitely works. Okay, so let's go through this first. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to have to open up our WSL. So depending on how your WSL works, okay, is you got to do something like this. We're going to pop on over to your desktop, and just click on your window here and then hit WSL. So this is assuming that you've already got it installed, okay? There's a lot of steps, and I have some videos on how to set that up, so you can check the link actually in the description of this video, and it will actually show you a link to how to set this up, so I won't go through that, but basically you got to open it up. Now I go ahead and I'm going to open mine up a little bit differently. Let me see here, because I'm going to be using my my WSL kit. So I'm just going to click on this open.bat, and that's going to open me up. It'll take a second there. Let's see, that's actually going to open me up into my Windows folder. So the other one is going to open you up directly into the WSL folder structure. This is pulling me out into the mount thing. And when you have this open bat and the support, whatever folder you're in, it's going to open you up into that. So that's why I use that. And again, I'm throwing this in. If you're a member, you can grab it. This is the easiest way to get into your WSL. But let's go ahead and get going here. So we're in our temp directory here. So what we're going to need to do is go back to our browser, and let's get the first directions. So this has us installing the Conda environments, okay, way before it has us installing the the repository. I typically like to download the repositories before I do the virtual environments, because I like to do everything the same way over and over. You know, you get the repository, you get in there, create your virtual environment. Because I used to be a trucker, and in the trucker we do the same thing. You set up this one, then you do this one, you put this one in. You do it the same way 100 times, so that way you don't make mistakes. This is spinning us backwards a little bit, but we're going to go ahead with this understanding that it's having us kind of put it's not bad, it's just a little bit out of order what we normally do. So let's go ahead and go create our environment first. We're going to copy this. Now notice again, we're using Conda. So let's switch on over to Conda here. Now we're going to be doing it in I'm going to do mine in my temp directory. You do it whatever directory you want. Okay. And we're just going to paste this in here. And as usual, what this means is Conda is our application that we're calling. We're telling it we want to create something. What do we want to, and it's assumed it's a virtual environment because that's what Conda does. And we put this dash in there to say, okay, I'm about to give you the name. That's what that dash in says. Hey, I'm about to give you the name. What's the name? Okay, it's YuE. You can name this whatever you want. We're going to call it YuE because that's what our directions have. And then we put Python 3.8. We could put Python 3.10 if we needed it, 3.11 if we needed it, but it wants us to do 3.8. So we'll just hit enter, and this will go ahead and create. Now remove existing environment. Mine's already created, so I'll just go ahead and click no, but yours will go through there and it'll download some stuff. Take 30 seconds to a minute depending on your computer. It's going to come down. Now we'll head back over to our directions again, and she wants us to activate the thing. Okay, that's simple. Let's go back over to command prompt again. If you don't have a virtual environment, kind of protects all of our other apps. It's like getting a tarp. If you're painting and you put something on the floor, it keeps paint from getting on the floor. Okay. But if you don't put the tarp down, it doesn't do you no good, right? So we put Conda. We want you to activate your virtual environment, the one called YuE. Now, I do want to point something out here about virtual environments. Again, just to hit home the purpose of these. I had someone just the other day, they're sitting there saying, man, I'm installing this app and it messes up this other app, and I install this app and it messes up this other app. And I said, well, that's again virtual environments, because you're sharing a space and you're putting something in here that this one needs, but in putting that in, this other thing has to go out that this other app needs. So you're competing for the stuff to go in there, and of course nothing's going to work. So when we create a virtual environment for each separate app, it gets its own things. Okay, right? Like imagine if you had like a place, you had a bunch of roommates, and imagine you only had a thing for one toothbrush, and so to put one toothbrush in, you had to take the other out or something like that. Well, instead, everyone gets their own little toothbrush thing for their own toothbrush. Okay, so that's kind of what virtual environments are doing for us. So let's go back here now. we've activated it. So now whatever dependencies we put in here, it's going to just put it in the virtual environment. So now it wants us to install PyTorch, Torch Vision, Torch Audio, CUDA Toolkit, and it wants us to get it all from NVIDIA. Normally we pip install our Torch Vision, Torch Audio. That's fine. This is the way they're doing it. We're going to follow their directions. So you're going to copy that, right click on it, hit copy or hit Control C. Then we're going to go back to our command prompt and we're going to paste this in. Okay. Now, again, I'll walk you through each step of it. Conda is our app. We're saying, hey, Conda, I want you to install something. What do I want you to install? I want you to install PyTorch. Oh, by the way, I also want you to install Torch Vision. Oh, and also Torch Audio. And hey, Conda, if you wouldn't mind, one last thing. Install the CUDA toolkit, but not just any CUDA toolkit. Install the 11.8. Okay. And then we're putting this -C to say we're getting it from a catalog, and the catalog's PyTorch. That's where we're going to get this one from. But notice we're saying, hey, we're getting creative. We're putting a -C, and we're saying also from the NVIDIA. So we're being a little bit of a high maintenance Karen here. We're saying, I want a triple whip frap with a mocha cream, but take the cream and heat it over here, but only if the cream is like this. If it's not, then use the other one. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're giving some high maintenance instructions to the thing, but it's really easy to see what it is once you understand it. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter, and you can see that we're in our virtual environment because over here it says YuE. So it's going to go through all this stuff, and mine's already been installed. Okay, yours might take 3 minutes, might take 4 or 5 minutes, because the Torch stuff takes a long time. Okay, so and it's got to download this stuff too, so it's going to be a few gigabytes worth of download into there. So lean back, get a cup of coffee, sit there, drink while it's doing its thing, and then it'll install. Okay, and we've also got our CUDA toolkit. So normally what we do is we do our CUDA toolkit, then we do our Torch. Again, we do the same thing in the same way 100 times so that then we don't mess up steps. This is kind of bundling it all together, but we're just going to trust the process on this one. So going back to our browser after that's installed, you can see the next instructions are it's going to have us pip install some requirements. Okay, and so we can scroll. You can see it doesn't hit the whole screen, so we got to scroll over, and we can grab that, hit Control C, and we can pop on back to our command prompt once again, and we'll paste this in here. Now, again, we haven't even downloaded the files yet. This is all just stuff for our virtual environment. So this time, instead of Conda, we're using pip. Okay, so hey Conda, thank you for your help. We're going to go use pip now. No offense to you. You've done a great job. Now, pip, we want you to do the same thing. We want you to install something. We're going to put a -R. We say we want you to install from a file. Okay, but now we're getting creative here. We're downloading the file. Usually in our stuff, we've already downloaded the requirements. This one is saying, actually, we're going to require from a file, but I don't even have it. I got to get it from over here first. Okay, so I want you to install from this file that I'm going to get. So we're going to use a curl command. We're going to do this, basically just a secure layer, socket layer. And then we're going to go over here, and this is the file. So it's going to download it, and then it's going to install it. Same thing, mine's already done, so it just took a second here. But yours will download the thing. It'll download it like a .txt file, and then it'll go through each one of them and download each individual thing it needs to. So again, the downloads take a while. So we'll go back to our browser once again, and we can see now after we've done this. So here we go. For saving GPU memory, flash attention is mandatory. Without it, long audio may lead to out of memory errors. Be careful about matching the CUDA version, flash attention version. So, in other words, if the CUDA 11.8 up here and the flash attention aren't the same versions, it will cause a problem. So if you're getting some issues with this command here that we're about to use, maybe go find a version of flash attention that will work for whatever CUDA toolkit you're using. So let's, and that's actually a very real thing that can happen. Now I'm going to type the word clear, and that's going to clear the screen. If we were in a Windows terminal, we would have typed CLS for clear screen, but we're in Windows Subsystem. We're using a Linux command, which is clear. So now we're going to type Control V. It's the same thing. We're already in our virtual environment. So we're saying, hey, pip, you did such a great job last time. Let's once again install. This time we're going to install Flash Attention, and this time we're going to say no build isolation. So in other words, don't worry about what's already on the machine. We want to build this thing from scratch. Okay, I don't want to worry about anything else. Build it from the bottom up. Okay, and we'll do that. So this will this actually doesn't take that long. Okay, you'd think it would take longer, but it doesn't. So you've got your Flash Attention. If you're doing this on Windows, I'm going to tell you, oh Lord, she's very difficult to do. You have to have CUDA 12.4 or 12.8 or whatever installed, which means you got to change up your environment just to get Flash Attention working. So you can do that, but it's troublesome. But you notice how easy that was in Linux. Okay, so now we've got here. So now we're going to get into our getting installed. So we're going to do this, the sudo apt update, okay? And sudo basically, what it does is it gives you like admin. It's like admin rights. It's like saying I'm going to do something as an administrator. So we're going to paste this in, and what we're doing is we're saying the apt application, which is stuff, download stuff. We want to update it, make sure we've got the full version of it. So it's going to ask for your password, because when you set up your WSL, it does ask for a password. So it's going to go there. It's going to update the application downloader for the application download called apt. Okay, now heading back over to our browser once again. Now it's going to want us to install git lfs. So see, now we're actually going to use that app that we just updated. Okay, so we go back over here. I'm going to type clear. So now we're saying we're giving admin rights to the application called apt. We want apt to install. We want to install git lfs. So git, of course, how we download our repositories. LFS is a way that makes it easier to download large files, because we're going to be downloading a few gigabyte size files. So we'll go through that, upgrade it, pop back over to our browser. Now we're going to finally get to cloning the repository, okay? So copy that, because if we go back to our command prompt, if we type dir, you're going to see there's nothing there, okay? It's just the support file that was there to get into here. So now we're going to hit Control V. We're going to call git. What we want git to do, we want to clone a repository. Which repository? Well, good thing you asked, this one right here. So it's going to go ahead and clone into here. And there you go. Now if we type dir, you'll see that we have a new folder called YuE, which has all the files in it. So good for us. Let's pop back over here. Okay, we've done this. Now notice what it wants us to do. It's going to have us git clone another directory, but it wants us in a particular folder. So CD, of course, means change directory. It's going to have us go into the directory that we just downloaded. When you git clone something, the thing at the end is the folder that it creates. So it's going to create YuE. You'll see this other one is going to create a folder called xcodec. So you can look at the end and know what folder. So it's going to want us here to go into there, and then inside there, there's another folder called inference. So let's just go ahead, copy that, go back to our command prompt, and we'll go Control V. So CD, YuE, inference. So we'll click that. Now notice, there we are. We're in the temp YuE inference folder. Okay, great. Good for us. So heading back over here, now we can grab the next git clone. Just highlight it, hit Control C, head back to your command prompt, Control V that bad boy. Get that ugly fella out of the way. Okay, and it's going to clone. Now this one will take a little bit longer because it actually downloads some bigger files, which is why we updated the LFS. So here you can see it's going to take a little bit of time to download this. But once this is done, we're actually ready to go, which is kind of cool. So we'll just sit here, twiddle our thumbs for just about a second. In fact, maybe I'll just hit pause. We'll be right back. And there you go. So that took a little less than a minute to download, maybe a minute. And there you have it. So we're actually ready to go. When we head back to our browser, you can see that was the last thing we do. And now we get down to run the inference. Okay, so you can go through here. These are the parameters that you're going to see down here, like a run in segment. You're going to see it down here. And it says, set this to the number of lyrics sections. So we'll talk about lyric sections in a moment if you want to generate a full song. So pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at 2 paragraphs, okay, of stuff. You can decrease the batch size based on your available GPU memory. So I'm telling you, though, that you're not really going to be able to do this. I'm running 24 gigabytes with a 4090, and it takes me about 10 minutes or so to get a minute and a half of stuff. I've played with pushing these numbers up, and it doesn't really do, it doesn't bring much joy to your life. Let's put it that way. Okay. You need at some point, you got to get up into the 60s kind of thing, gigabytes. So we're going to be playing with, a minute and a half kind of stuff. So just what I suggest doing is leaving this here for now, and you can play with it later. So, so pretty much to run this thing, notice you've got to be in the inference folder. Okay, so we're already in the inference folder. I'm going to tap clear again, clear the screen. You see we're already in there. So if you were running this later, you would come into, you would open up your WSL, you would go to this folder, and then you would have to make sure you activate your YuE, and then we would go ahead and throw this into here. Now, we're going to throw this in here, but I'm going to show you a few things about this first. So let's see if I can throw this in here without it triggering. Let's go over here. Okay. So now, beautiful thing about Linux is you can do stuff on different levels like this, and it will understand it. If you tried doing this in Windows Terminal, it'd be like, it's all going to be on one line. So we're going to run Python. So Python is our interpreter. So Python interprets .py files. Okay, so it's written in a certain language. It turns it into machine language so that Windows or whatever, Linux can understand it. Okay, then these are all parameters that you can play around with if you want. The main thing that we need to look at is that we're using this model, the 7B one here, and then we're using this other one, 1B. So it's going to do a 2-step thing through this. It's going to use the first one probably to make the bulk of it, and then the smaller one to kind of refine it. Okay, so it's going to download these once we start going. Now here's the other thing that's real important. You're going to see here it says genre text, lyrics text. This is where you're going to actually be putting in your words and your genre prompts. Okay, now it comes with a sample genre text and a sample lyrics text. So let's go take a look at those, and I'll show you how you can change those out. So let's go over to here. Okay, so I'm going to pop us over to our File Explorer. Now, this is back in, there we go. This is back in Windows Explorer. Now, remember, I used my WSL open.bat, so that by doing that, this was available for Farmham members over on the Get Going Fast.pro site. So all the work we're doing was in here. If you're doing this in WSL straight, you're going to have to actually scroll on over to here and click your Linux, and then you're going to have to find your distribution, and then you got to, get through it like this. Okay, so then you'll be able to find stuff like that. All right. Like I said, I've got other videos on that. You can look at that up. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back to where we installed this. Okay. And you're going to see this is the folder we get cloned. Okay. Here's the inference folder. There's the prompts examples. So we're going to click on that, and you're going to see here is the ones that it mentions over here in the command prompts. Remember, it's mentioned in genre. It's mentioned in lyrics. Okay. So if we click on this, it's going to pop up a window like this. Let me get that for you. Okay, if you open that up, you'll see here it says inspiring, female, uplifting, pop, airy, vocal, electronic, bright, vocal. So you could put your stuff in here. your grunge, heavy metal, whatever. You put your words in there, and that's going to be what it uses. So you would just change this file. Now here's your lyric text. Okay. Now notice they've got a bunch of verses here. We're going to run this, but I'm telling you, it ain't going to get through each one of these. It might get through 1, 2, 3. But here's the main thing. Notice they block it up by verse, chorus, bridge, outro. Now, the main thing is it's got to have these brackets. If you don't have the brackets, you're going to get errors. So you have to be very particular when you do this. Okay. Now, if we head back over to the browser, you'll notice down here there's a prompt engineering guide. And we can click on this, and it's going to give us some example. Well, I thought there was a better one than this. Hold on, let me see here. Oh, here it is. On genre tags, it says we provided the top 200 most commonly used tags. If we click this, you'll see it's got a bunch of different tags: rap, classical, soundtrack, country, experimental, hip hop. So you can go through here, kind of get what you want to get out of here. So again, remember, this is a open source model. This is not Suno. So you're going to be, it gets incredible stuff. And in fact, I've created stuff on this I like better than what I got out of Suno. But it's not as diverse. Okay. It's not going to have as much stuff as Suno does. And in fact, one of the things I do want to point out here is that you're going to find that when you're doing your lyrics, this thing will actually look at the type of lyrics you've made and kind of decide what sort of music. So even though you prompt this thing, if you're, if you're writing about drinking whiskey and you're cowboy trucking down the road and stuff, even if you put airy pop vocals, synth, female, hip hop or whatever, it's still going to come out sounding country. So it's not perfect. It relies on both the lyrics and the genre to get it. But anyway, so you go in here. This is how you get it going on. You've got your files there, your genre, your lyrics. They are under, you installed here, and then you got your prompt examples. Okay, so that's how you change that up. Now, going back to your prompt, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and just hit enter. Okay, where are we at here? You're just going to hit enter. Now, I'm not going to hit enter because I'm using so much GPU right now with talking with y'all that it would just kill my system. But you'll sit here and it will download the files. I'm not sure if it will show you. Sometimes I've had it show me, sometimes I've had it not, but it's going to download about 8 gigabytes worth of stuff. Once those are downloaded, you don't have to download them again, okay? And then it's going to sit there and it's going to go through this, and you should see phase 1, stage 1, stage 2. I'm telling you, it's kind of like being on a long car ride. You're in the car and you're just like, my God, we ain't never going to get there. And you're like, are we even making progress? And then all of a sudden you see a road sign that you're like, oh my God, okay, back to civilization. That's kind of how this feels while this is loading. You kind of get going and you're just like, are we even doing anything? And then all of a sudden something changes. You're like, oh, your heart just goes like that, okay? Now, when it's done, you're going to go over back to your file explorer and it's going to save it here under, you're going to have to go to inference and then outputs. Let me show you one of my completed ones over here. We're under staging. So you'd have your output folder, okay? And then your files will be in here. Okay, so I moved all mine out of there. So, but it, just look like that, okay? Then you go ahead, click your song. And the heart I didn't break. So again, well, this one actually, you can see it, and it actually labels it by what you. So this was grunge, dubstep, guitar, male, guttural. So it's like, it's okay. But this is how you'll find it. You'll go into your YuE directory. You'll see your output folder. Now, it might be under inference. Sometimes under inference. I'm not quite sure where it's going to put this one. Might be under output. That's how you get it done. Okay. So that's it. Now, reminder to get back into your thing to use it again, what you have to do is you have to get back to your WSL. So for me, I'm going to go back to my WSL open here. Okay. because I'm using the special one, but I'm going to click there. That's going to open up the prompt again. Okay. You would probably just hit your you'd probably just hit your Windows key, and then it would type in WSL. So here, okay, so bring this up again. Now notice, but I'm not in my virtual environment, so I would have to activate it. I would type conda activate YuE. Okay, now I'm in there. I've already done all the installations, so I'm great. I would go back to type CDU to change directory in there, and I'd have to get to my inference folder. Inference. Okay, and then you'll see in here you've got your infer.py file. So then you would go ahead and paste your big long one in there with your change stuff. Okay, so that's how you get back into it. Okay, now if you're using the one from the Get Going Fast page, you'll actually have a .sh file. Let me show you how to do that really quick. Here, let's do that real quick. I'll show you how to get into this. Okay, so if you got it out there, you end up here with this zip file, and you just unzip it. You got your WSL open, so you can just open up your WSL in whatever folder you want. Then you're going to have these files, the install and the run. Okay, so this is, it'll do it all for you, but you got to do a little bit of stuff. And so to do this, what I do is I just right click on this, I click on rename, and I just hit Control A to copy the whole thing, and I hit Control C. Okay, then what I do is I pop over to here after I've clicked my WSL open, and then you just paste it in. Well, actually, I gotta go like this. You gotta put a dot and then a /, and you know it's a / because the very top is leaning to the right. Well, that's the other way. Whatever. So it's leaning that direction. Okay, so then it will go ahead and run the script file, and it will do everything that we just did, but it'll do it on its own. Then when that's done, okay, to then when we grab this other one, this run YuE WSL, same thing. I just kind of hit rename. Whoops, I kind of hit rename on this, copy the whole thing. Then I pop back over to command prompt. I go // this. Now if we hit this, it's going to go ahead and activate the virtual environment. It's going to go run it, and then you can see here running on local URL. So all you got to do is hold the control button, click that. That's going to pop it up to your browser. Same thing. So then from here I could just go ahead and type hip hop, rap, EDM, or whatever, whatever, vocal. And I noticed it put, I wonder what would happen if you put it in multiple times. You could play with it, but then you would write your lyrics. You could write chorus or, verse. I'm hippin', I'm hoppin'. You know that I'm not stopping. Okay, so there you go. Now I'd want to put in my chorus, and it'd be like, yo, 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 yo. I can't see. Can't you see? But you can see. And then you go back to your next verse. I'm still hippin'. I'm still hopping. I've got this joint popping. Whatever. Okay, so then you go in there, you hit this all up, and then you click your generate music, and you'll see it again in your command prompt run it. It'll look a little bit different than the other one, but same thing. You just kind of wait for what seems like a forever, and then she moves. Okay, same thing. It's going to output it, but the little difference with this one is that it's going to actually pop it up into here. So when you're done, you can play it in here as well. But it also does save it as well. So you'll be fine. Okay. So going back to our other here. We have this, where was that at? I think we're going to hit back. We had this other GUI, which you can play with. We scroll up here. Yeah, it's this UGP. So now supposedly this is by probably the greatest name on the internet, someone called Deep Beep Meep, which, good job on that name, which is very cool. So Deep Beep Meep here has created a version that supposedly works with these different profiles. So if you have a little bit lower VRAM, it says requires 12 gigabytes of VRAM, 10 gigabytes. I have not had success with this. Okay. And I will tell you that running this, you're going to sit there for an hour. See, and here's the biggest problem that I've had with Deep Beep Meep stuff is it's really groovy and sometimes it does work. But I've had other times where I've left it for a couple hours. I come back and she hasn't done anything. But I have another time I run it and it works. So it's very inconsistent. And I honestly, I'm not lying. I'm telling very much the truth here. I worked for this for the last day and a half, like kind of all day type stuff, trying to get this stuff working because I really wanted to present this to you in a manner where I could even give Deep Beep Meep stuff. And I couldn't get it consistent enough to feel good about packaging that for you. So very cool. Hats off to Deep Beep Meep, yo. And he's got some other stuff that you can play around with. I really like it. I'm sure that I will be spending more time checking out his other low VRAM stuff for you. But if you want to use that, I'm going to let you just go ahead and figure it out. It's not that difficult. It's kind of pretty much the same idea here. His installation instructions, we're not going to walk through them, but same thing. You're just going to make sure LFS is installed. You're going to git clone this directory instead of the other one. You're going to go in here, download the same thing that we did here, and then you're going to install your torch, your this and that. But notice this one, he is requiring CUDA 12.4. And that might be one of the issues that I've had is that I'm an 11.8 guy, although in WSL I do use 12.4. So my suggestion after having, I'm not kidding, guys. I've probably spent well over 12 hours playing with this stuff because it takes so long to troubleshoot this stuff. Because, you're talking like the installation and then, 10, 15-minute generations. And then sometimes you leave it for an hour. And so it's taken me a lot of time. And my suggestion to you is if you're going to use this, just stick with what he's got. Stick with the CUDA 12, okay? But I would not change your Windows system for it. That's one of my key things. Like, you get your system set up so it works for 90% of the stuff, 95%. You don't change it for one app because then it messes up everything. Run this in WSL or don't run it is kind of my suggestion. But anyways, you can get over here. It's pretty easy. Just install this, install the requirements, and this is where your flash attention stuff comes in. This is what's going to kill you on Windows. This is why this doesn't really make it work. But go ahead and play with it. See what you can get. It's all here. Like I said, Deep Beep Meep, hey, I don't know who you are, but good job, dude. Like, way props to you for doing that. So, but I think that we'll just leave that at that. We'll let you kind of handle that one yourself. Okay, so there we have it. We have gone through the steps of making sure that our WSL is installed. Well, you guys have gone through the steps. Again, check in the description down below and you'll see that I've got some steps on how to get that going, so you just have to follow video on that. But we got that going. We went through not a very difficult process of getting the stuff installed, but making sure that our virtual environment is set up correctly. And then we went ahead and changed our text files and added the prompt the way that we needed to into the terminal. It came up, makes great music, and we are done with it. So we're going to leave that there. I'm going to let you guys play with it. Again, this is one of these things that it really, you're going to have hits and misses with it. You're going to spend a lot of time on this trying to get her back and forth. You're going to have some that don't work so good. You have some that work just fine, okay? And I think you'll find your balance with that. So in the meanwhile, you guys hang in there. We will catch you the next time. If you want to chat, hit me up on the Discord, find me on Reddit, find me on Hugging Face, find me here on YouTube, wherever you want, and I'm happy to chat you up. So you guys stay good, and we will catch you later. Yo.